Now, the Mariah Carey-Jennifer Lopez feud has been going on for years. It all started with J.Lo collaborating with Mariah's ex-husband, Sony record executive Tommy Mottola. Now, Mariah claims that Tommy used J.Lo to try and get back at her and accused them of stealing songs. Later on, Mariah was doing an interview for the German television program TAF, and she was asked about other pop stars, including J.Lo. When she was asked this, Mariah just shook her head back and forth and said, "I don't know her." Now, the interview was uploaded to YouTube in 2008, and it quickly became a viral meme. Now, both stars have repeatedly been asked about the comment, and they can't seem to decide whether they like each other or not. In 2014, Jennifer appeared on Andy Cohen's Watch What Happens Live, and during a game of Plead the Fifth, she was asked about where her relationship with Mariah stands. When Andy said, "I've always heard there was a feud there," Jennifer responded, "I don't have a feud against her at all. I know from back in the day I've read things she said about me that were not the greatest, but we have never met, like we don't know each other. I think it's kind of from word of mouth of things that have happened in the past that I'm not really aware of." She added, "I would love to meet her and I would love to be friends with her. I think she's incredibly talented and I've always been a fan of hers." But that same year, Mariah spoke to Andy Cohen about the feud, and she stood her ground reiterating, "I don't know her, what am I supposed to say?" Then this year, among J.Lo's drama with Ben Affleck and her failed tour, a source exclusively told In Touch, "It's no secret that Mariah can't stand J.Lo. They've had a feud going back more than 20 years, so of course she's thrilled to see her ticket sales in the toilet," said the source. Mariah is never shy about trash-talking J.Lo and always complains about how overrated and phony she is. She's happy the public is finally seeing it too. Seems like these two will never make up. Now, Rosie Perez used to work with J.Lo, and they met in 1991 during an open casting call for the Fly Girl dancers. Now, Rosie was the show's Fly Girl choreographer, and she claims that she was the one who convinced host and creator Keenan Ivory Wayans to pick J.Lo. Now, J.Lo made her debut in September 1991, but she really didn't get along with her fellow dancers. Rosie wrote about this in her 2014 memoir, revealing that hiring J.Lo was a mistake. "All the girls were coming into my office complaining about how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me all to her advantage." Now, Rosie wrote in her memoir saying that Jen thought the girls were just jealous. She went on to say that J.Lo dropped her sweet girl act and went off on Rosie like some ghetto biatch, screaming and pounding her chest. Rosie claims she shouted, "You pick on me and only me, every effing day, every effing day. I work my ass off, deliver, and you keep pushing me aside, treating me like, shh, I know I'm good. I'm better than any of those girls and you know it." Now, J.Lo then left the show after 2 years, but she still made life difficult for Rosie as she talked crap about her. After being hurt by the alleged comments, Rosie was then surprised when J.Lo was friendly to her at a nightclub years later. "Jennifer came over to me smiling, saying hello as if nothing had happened. I should have let it go, played it off too. Instead, I killed her with my biting tongue," Rosie wrote. But Rosie later explained to Piers Morgan that tabloids made a feud between them a major thing when it just wasn't. "I don't hate Jennifer Lopez, I have great respect for her," she said. "When I first saw her, I knew she was going to be a star. Yes, we had a tiff, and it was 20 years ago. It's unfortunate that the tabloids try to portray it as something that is current," she says. Regardless, Rosie had a past with J.Lo and wasn't afraid to call her out. Howard Stern has claimed many times on his radio show that he doesn't like J.Lo, her music, or how she's acted in her career. Now, because of this, Jennifer has avoided him, as when Howard first got the job as a judge on America's Got Talent, he tried to make his case by slamming other celebrity judges who, in his opinion, are more focused on advancing their own careers than doing the job they're hired to do. "I think a lot of the celebrity judges are not that good at judging, they're more interested in promoting their career," he said in a red carpet interview with HLN in 2012. "I was critical of American Idol J.Lo because I felt that she never said anything negative, let's say. And I felt like, well, it helped her career. She got very far, she suddenly got back on the charts, and the show was good for her. And it became more about J.Lo." Now, on top of this, Howard has reportedly bashed all of J.Lo's music. In 2011, Howard and his co-host Robin Quivers dissected her hit single On the Floor and repeatedly played the sound of Howard banging his head against the wall in time to the music. In 2016, Howard compared J.Lo's music to that of a homeless woman who sang a nonsensical song for his staffers. Then in 2019, he called out Jimmy Fallon for praising J.Lo's Super Bowl halftime show performance, and this doesn't even scratch the surface of how many times he's bashed her, So, safe to say, he's not afraid of calling out the star. In early July 2003, Jennifer fired her manager Benny Medina. She accused him of violating California's Talent Agency Act, filed a petition accusing him of misappropriating her money, and sought millions in back commissions plus 10% interest, according to Billboard. It was said that Benny was not a licensed talent agent under the Labor Commissioner, a violation that entitles a performer to seek a refund for any payments to the acting talent agent up to a year before filing the petition. Now in J.Lo's case, this amounted to 10% of earnings from movies and television, 15% of her music, recording and publishing earnings, and 10% of her earnings from other activities, including fashion and cosmetic interests. Benny denied the allegations, saying, "Jennifer Lopez, by making false allegations against me, is now trying to add me to the long list of people whom she has used and discarded after she took from them all she could get. I will defend myself against these lies and will collect from her every dollar which I am owed." Now, in the end, that December, it was reported that the dispute was settled quietly some time ago. Now, Jennifer later rehired Benny to revive her music career in 2005, and the two have remained friends and business partners ever since, but it just kinda seems off. Then there was the time J.Lo's makeup artist Scott Barnes was fired after being accused of leaking information to the press about J.Lo's marriage to Mark Anthony. During an interview on the Jeff Probst show, Scott set the record straight after rumors circulated that he and two others leaked plans of J.Lo and Anthony's secret marriage, and as a result, J.Lo's team shunned Scott. He said, "No one would talk to me, it was like I had the plague." Then, when the truth came out that Scott did not leak the news or even know about the wedding ahead of time, he received a phone call from Jen, who Scott claims said the following. It was like, "Hey, it was a big misunderstanding. You know, we have a lot of stuff coming up and I really miss you, so let's just get back to work." Now, although Scott was very gracious about the whole thing, it appears that J.Lo did not apologize to him. Why he would go back to work for her, I have no clue, but at least he got the truth out that it was not him who leaked the news. And finally, we have J.Lo and Madonna. Now, their feud all began when Madonna was asked about who she thinks is the best female singer in the world, and she said Jennifer Lopez was a good actress but couldn't sing. Then in a 1998 interview, Jennifer fired back at Madonna, saying she wasn't a good actor while promoting her film Out of Sight. When asked about Madonna's acting skills, J.Lo didn't hold back. "Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, 'Oh, I can do that, I can act.' I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Now, after the interview was published, J.Lo regretted everything she said about her colleagues and said it was all a joke. But Madonna had already read the interview and reportedly felt disrespected, so there was no turning back. Then there was a New Year's Eve party hosted by Donatella Versace that year, which was attended by J.Lo, Madonna, and Christopher Saccone. Christopher explained that Ingrid Carasez, Madonna's closest friend, ran into the courtyard during the celebration and shouted, "J.Lo is here and we are not talking to her." He said everyone except for him and Donatella Versace gave Jennifer the cold shoulder. And honestly, I kinda think she deserves it. Now, since then, Madonna has made a couple digs towards J.Lo in the media, and their relationship is still rocky.
Usher was left out of an important decision once, and it led to some legal troubles for J.Lo. The song in question here is Get Right. Get Right was written by Usher and producer Rich Harrison for Confessions. The album was released by Usher in 2004. The song was originally called Ride. The thing was, it wasn't good enough for the album, or something went wrong. Either way, it didn't make the cut, and vault tracks weren't common yet, so the song sat there until J.Lo was interested. Harrison decided to give the track to J.Lo, presumably without checking with Usher first if his reaction is anything to go off of. Usher claimed he didn't sign off on the decision and was quick to demand publishing rights. Obviously, the song made it out on J.Lo's side as it was released and is now considered a fan favorite. Shawnette Harrell sang the chorus to popular J.Lo song If You Had My Love, but was credited as just a background singer. Having others lend vocals to songs is super common in Hollywood. In recent years, it's more common that people will sing the majority of their song, and other voices will truly be background vocals. It seems in this case, Harrell might not have been credited properly if she really did sing the chorus and J.Lo is just lip-syncing along. Likely though, J.Lo did put some vocals in there, mixed in with with Harrell handling the brunt of it. As for crediting the person as a background singer, the vocals were mixed in a way that the background vocals typically were, plus there is no way to actually know if J.Lo was the one to sign off on that. Christina Milian is now a singer and actress. You might recognize her from the Netflix movie Falling in Love, the Kim Possible theme song, or the J.Lo song Play. Christina co-wrote the song and did record some vocals for it, vocals that can be heard on J.Lo's version of the track. But as we know now, that did not happen. But J.Lo did kind of steal her work, not really because she would have had to get permission, but you know what I mean. People thought maybe Christina felt negatively towards J.Lo. It turns out that is very much not the case. In an interview with Page 6, Christina got to clear up any rumors swirling around the internet. She said there is nothing malicious between her and J.Lo. She talked quite highly of the singer, and even explaining that she was okay not being fully credited for the track, saying hands down she killed it. She's so good, I love that song, I'm on the credits for whatever nature, as a writer and for singing backgrounds. There is credit for that. I'm also just so happy that she did it because she's an icon, she's amazing. It's funny when people talk about this being kind of a thing about me singing on the song with Jennifer. I mean, I have background singers on some of my songs. It's no different than Michael Jackson having background singers on songs or Britney Spears. This is what music is made of. You want a blend of voices, it makes songs better to me. She even clarified why the song went to J.Lo, explaining that she liked another party song she had written more, AM to PM, and figured that only one would make the album, so she passed on Play. J.Lo caught it and recorded it, doing some rewrites with Christina, and then it was off and hitting the charts. Ironically, it could be argued J.Lo's song, I'm Real, is not very real at all. Ashanti is the real deal here, at least when it comes to the chorus, and ad-libs, and the writing of the song. Allegedly, the song I'm Real by Jennifer Lopez was written by Ashanti. She sung the demo that was given to J.Lo. Usually artists, when they get demos, they just use it to see what the song will sound like. Then they re-record the song because it's their song now and they want their vocals. At least that's what one might think. In this case, and a few more cases that we've looked at and will look at, it looks like J.Lo did not re-record anything, just kept the demo vocals and the ad-libs. Ashanti received credit for background vocals, but the co-writing credit was nowhere to be found. So while J.Lo likely got permission from either the performer or the company, it wasn't a good look in the eyes of the public. To make the entire situation worse, J.Lo, who is Puerto Rican, used the N-word on the track. That was met with the appropriate response and callouts. I'm Real was so successful that Ashanti did write for J.Lo again, so there must not have been too much bad blood between the women. She came back to write Ain't It Funny, also adding some ad-lib vocals into this song. She did get to appear in the music video for this one. It's hard to imagine any J.Lo song being more popular than Jenny from the Block, but for a brief moment, all I have was the moment. While most of the song was J.Lo's vocals, part of the chorus was sampled from Deborah Law's song Very Special. Very Special came out in 1981 and J.Lo's song in 2002, so quite a bit of time between the two. Sony did get permission to use the sample, however, no one told the original singer, Deborah Law, so she took J.Lo to court. The case was dismissed, she tried again, and it was dismissed again. Specifically, she went to court over the sample, but that doesn't mean it was Law's vocals on the J.Lo track. The part of the chorus that wasn't J.Lo was a woman named Makeba Riddick. Riddick was with Rock Nation at the time. Makeba does have a connection to another famous track, Love the Way You Lie, featuring Rihanna. She produced Rihanna's vocals. This one is mainly a fan rumor and speculation. Kunela Cox was a background singer on Jennifer Lopez's tours and was possibly a vocalist on her hit song Love Don't Cost a Thing. Love Don't Cost a Thing is one of J.Lo's biggest hits, so it makes sense it would eventually be examined with a magnifying glass, or I guess just a good ear to pick apart to see if J.Lo is singing. Some fans would argue that in parts of the song, she isn't, that instead of J.Lo's vocals being heard, it's actually Cox. Cox is not that big of an artist, unfortunately, though she is very talented. She released some of her own music and albums back in the early 2000s, but they didn't do very well. A leaked demo caused people to listen to Lopez's signature track, Jenny from the Block, a little more closely, as it was rumored that J.Lo didn't even sing part of her most popular tune, and that some vocals actually belonged to Natasha Ramos. Of all the people on this list, Natasha is probably one of the most outspoken. She has used her multiple social media accounts to prove her involvement with the hit song. Using her X account, she tweets out her demo for the song, telling people to compare for yourselves. However, However, that was mainly in response to people saying she was lying about ever being involved with the track. Back in 2019, she tweeted a short summary of her involvement, writing, "I just want to clarify something. J.Lo did indeed go into the studio and lay down some background vocals over mine. So I wouldn't say she's so much lip syncing, however the backgrounds are predominantly me, some ad-libs and laughs as well." So that is nice to get cleared up. J.Lo is technically still singing her biggest song, just with a little more help than we may have thought. Social media star Samantha Barbash was the inspiration behind the critically acclaimed film Hustlers, produced and starring Jennifer Lopez. Samantha, however, does not appreciate the film and actually sued J.Lo and her company for defamation. Samantha shared her perspective on the situation in an interview with TMZ. She said, "They basically stole my story. I wouldn't sign my rights away. I wasn't giving away my film and TV rights for peanuts. J.Lo doesn't work for free, why would I?" Further claiming that 87% of the film made was wrong. Samantha's case was ultimately dismissed. Brandy might have been the one mad at J.Lo for taking her song, but she has also now accidentally, maybe purposely, roped herself into the feud between Mariah Carey and J.Lo. Let's start with the Brandy drama. Brandy wrote a song called Ride or Die for her album Aphrodisiac. The problem was there was a bunch of delays with the album, and for some reason those delays meant that Brandy no longer had the song and it went to J.Lo for her Rebirth album. Ride or Die did still keep quite a few Brandy vocals though, which I can only imagine added fuel to the feud fire. How did Brandy get into the decades-long feud with Mariah and J.Lo though? Well, she posted a picture with Carey in 2017 and captioned it #SheKnowsMe, to which Carey confirmed in the comments, "I sure do." This exchange might mean nothing to the average person, but to J.Lo fans this was a declaration of war. See, back in the early 2000s when J.Lo was starting to become a major name and Mariah Carey was releasing hits left and right, Carey was on a red carpet and the topic moved to Lopez, to which Carey replied with, "I don't know her." Such a simple sentence, and yet it ignited decades-long feuds, so that's what J.Lo fans believe Brandy was referencing with her hashtag caption. But that one little comment on Carey's part could not have possibly been the thing to ignite the feud. Maybe the straw that broke the camel's back, but it certainly wasn't the first thing to happen between the pair. The first big step was probably, if you look at it from Mariah Carey's perspective, when J.Lo stole a never-before sampled song from her ahead of her album release. That was pretty bad. The song that had never been sampled before was Firecracker by Yellow Magic Orchestra. Mariah wanted it for her upcoming song Loverboy, so she of course applied for a license. The only thing was her ex-husband must have hated her because he also applied for the same song, and unfortunately for Carey, beat her out. So J.Lo's track, I'm Real, got the sample, and it also featured vocals from another singer named Shailene Thomas. Presumably, this fiasco is what sparked the flames of the feud.
Gwyneth Paltrow. At the time, Lopez was still fresh off the success of Selena and Anaconda, and she was explaining how she felt she was grouped into what she called the bottom of the A-list actresses. Paltrow was a star on the rise at the time, with many films under her belt such as Seven, Great Expectations, and Shakespeare in Love, which earned her a Best Actress Oscar in 1999. When Lopez was asked about Paltrow, she almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in? I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work. If you have the goods, there's nothing to be afraid of. If somebody doesn't have the goods, they're insecure. I don't have that problem." Although Paltrow took the high road and never publicly criticized the star, when J.Lo started dating her ex-boyfriend Ben Affleck, she was reportedly very upset about the pairing and said that she didn't think Jennifer is right for him. It's easy to see why she felt that way. Scott Barnes. If you want to see just how long Lopez can hold a grudge, just ask celebrity makeup artist Scott Barnes, who's worked for her for the past 20 years. It's important to note that not all of J.Lo's feuds and shade throwing has been directed towards the rich and famous. The star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist Scott Barnes after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, Barnes revealed that the woman he considered a friend cast him aside for an entire year until it was confirmed that someone else was responsible for the leak. Quote, "It was like I had the plague." Interestingly enough, J.Lo did end up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless. which sounds exactly like something she would do. The celebrity makeup artist, who's also lent his talents to Hollywood stars including Gwyneth Paltrow, added, quote, "I went right back to work with her, and we just never spoke about it again, which is even weirder." The funny thing is, Barnes would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remained on good terms, despite the fact that she ghosted him. He wasn't even guilty of the leak, but she cut him out of her life for a whole year. Talk about insanity. Salma Hayek. In that same interview from 1998, Lopez did not enjoy being compared to Salma Hayek. Quote, "We're in two different realms. She's a sexy bombshell, and those are the kinds of roles that she does. I do all kinds of different things." And as if trashing her career wasn't enough, the supremely confident Lopez also claimed that Hayek had been telling a few lies about the fact that she had been offered the lead role of Selena, the 1997 film based on the life of slain Texas-born superstar Selena Quintanilla. She went on to say, quote, "It makes me laugh when she says she got offered Selena, which is an outright lie. If that's what she does to get herself publicity, then that's her thing." The comments were incredibly rude and ignorant of J.Lo, even though she claimed they were taken out of context in an interview that she did a few years later. But in 2020, Salma Hayek opened up to Andy Cohen on Watch What Happens Live, saying that in the 90s she was offered the role of Selena before Jennifer Lopez, but she turned it down. Quote, "They offered it to me like a week after she died. It was a little distasteful. They were already planning on making this movie." So it goes to show you how gracious Salma Hayek is because she wanted to be respectful to Selena's passing. Ashanti. While Jennifer Lopez has landed herself several platinum-selling hits since her rise to fame with her debut album, she is no stranger to causing controversy regarding how she ends up getting her songs. While Ashanti has never openly admitted to sharing a feud with Jennifer Lopez, the R&B songstress has certainly hinted that she was often overlooked because of the success. Aside from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for her song Loverboy in the same year, Lopez was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which left Ashanti feeling irritated given that she had just landed her first taste of success in the music industry around that same time. Then in September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real, lifted from her second studio album with Gotti, but he eventually handed the track over to Lopez even though the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Ashanti said, quote, "It felt bittersweet because I was really excited because it was with J.Lo, you know what I mean? But I was so mad at Irv because I was like, you know I wanted that record." The whole situation between the two stars always seems bizarre and unfair, and many people believe that J.Lo outright stole Ashanti's vocals and passed them off as her own. Eva Mendes. There was a time where Eva Mendes and J.Lo comparisons were inevitable. Similar to Lopez, Eva's career began in the 90s. She started out featuring in music videos with stars like Will Smith, Aerosmith, and Pet Shop Boys. They were both Latina actors making waves in the entertainment industry in the 2000s. They've both dated A-listers and starred in big-budget blockbusters, delivering standout performances that stole the show. However, when these similarities were brought to Eva's attention, the actress was very offended at the idea and felt that it was insulting to be compared to Lopez at all. In fact, Eva even felt that her approach to acting was more serious than Lopez's in a major way, and added that J.Lo manages her career like a business as opposed to caring about her art. Quote, "I would like to think I will have a more serious career than J.Lo. We may be both of Latin origin, but that's where the comparisons stop. She manages her career like the head of a big corporation, whereas the only thing I care about is becoming the best actress possible." While Mendes has made it clear that she never respected J.Lo's career, at least her comments don't sound too personal and were probably made because she was just sick and tired of constantly being compared to the other Latina actress.
Brandy. In the midst of the Mariah and J.Lo feud, Brandy publicly supported Mariah, making it clear she does not like J.Lo. In July of 2017, Brandy took to Instagram to share a photo of herself hugging Mariah Carey with the caption, #SheKnowsMe, an obvious reference to Mariah's infamous "I don't know her" comment about J.Lo. All the comments were flooded with people speculating over the caption, and the consensus quickly became that the photo was a dig at J.Lo. However, Brandy later addressed the caption, writing, quote, "Oh my god, what happened? I swear to goodness, I didn't know what the fuss is about. I love this pic and now everyone thinks I'm throwing shade. At who? This is funny. Can't take this one down. I love this picture and whenever I'm throwing shade, it's not questionable, you know that I am." Later adding that Mariah does in fact know her. Mariah supported the post by commenting, quote, "I sure do." Even though Brandy is trying to convince us it's nothing shady, I honestly don't believe it. Next up, Nicki Minaj. It's long been rumored that Jennifer Lopez is a huge diva, and the fight that her and Nicki Minaj had while on American Idol brought up both of their diva sides. In 2012, Lopez was a judge on American Idol while Nicki came on to perform, and things got tense fast. After Nicki finished performing, she went over to the judges table and asked, quote, "I was hoping maybe I could come back and be a guest judge. J.Lo, can you scoot over a little bit?" J.Lo then responded, quote, "I don't know if there's enough room for both of us." Then Minaj took it up another notch backstage when she said, quote, "She didn't seem to be having it, but she's gonna have it." But she later added, quote, "We were just joking around." But it's clear the bad blood is still there. When Lopez performed at the 2015 AMAs, she sang a part of Minaj's song Anaconda. But I don't think Nicki got the memo that it was going to be happening, because when the camera panned to Nicki, she did not look happy. Fans totally saw the shade and started tweeting about it that night. Rihanna and J.Lo started feuding right around the time that J.Lo was seen getting cozy with Rihanna's ex, Drake. This all happened in 2016 when J.Lo and Drake took a photo backstage at J.Lo's concert. Once the photos came out, everyone assumed that they were dating, which probably got the attention of his exes. A lot of fans felt the whole thing was most likely a publicity stunt, but Rihanna took the rumors pretty seriously and lashed out online because of it. A source said at the time that Rihanna suffered, quote, "the ultimate betrayal," and dubbed Lopez desperate and a traitor. This was because Rihanna and J.Lo were really tight at one point, and Rihanna even got support from J.Lo during rough times with Drake. Then in December of 2016, Rihanna unfollowed J.Lo on Instagram, making her stance very clear. Jenna Dewan. When the pair started alongside each other on World of Dance, they seemed like they got along great. Lopez was a producer and a judge, while Dewan was a host and mentor on the show. But sources revealed that when the camera stopped rolling, the women hated each other. One source said about their relationship, quote, "Jenna can't stand Jen's over-the-top theatrical fakery. Jen never fails to ham it up when the cameras are rolling, and she hijacks the show. It seems she'd prefer if Jenna just stayed in the background." The insider continued that J.Lo is a micromanager who tells everyone else what to do. Because of all her input, Jenna felt excluded and felt like her voice was not heard. Although there is a chance that this feud is not accurate, because when Dewan's team was asked about the feud rumors, they denied them. Ojani Noah. Jennifer Lopez has been married 3 times before. Her first and shortest marriage was to Cuban waiter Ojani Noah. Although their relationship ended in 1998, it's clear that Noah cannot stand her, and whenever asked about Lopez, he does not hold back his negative feelings. Back in 2006, he was actually set to release a juicy tell-all book about Lopez called The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller. But before it was set to be published, Lopez was able to stop it with a lawsuit. She argued that publishing the book broke their confidentiality agreement, and the courts agreed. From that lawsuit, she won $545,000 in damages, and Noah was forbid from criticizing or casting in a negative light or otherwise disparaging Lopez. Noah's name was brought up once again when he threatened to leak an intimate tape of the two of them on their honeymoon. Lopez then filed a $10 million lawsuit against him. When asked why the relationship ended, Noah blamed Lopez, saying, quote, "I was looking forward to being with her for the rest of my life. It didn't happen. She made the choice of her career instead of me." And finally, Jennifer Lopez herself. Nobody has done more to warn us about J.Lo's sketchy behavior than herself, and some of the things she's done in the past are too terrible to ignore. Back when she tried to score a role in competition with actress Claire Danes, J.Lo said some harsh things about her competition, saying that Claire Danes does the quote, "same thing with every character she does." Then Lopez bashed Winona Ryder, saying that she was not a big fan of her work. And finally, Lopez took aim at Gwyneth Paltrow, saying, quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Then in a different interview, Lopez decided to take aim at Madonna, specifically bashing Madonna's attempt at acting. Quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Aside from dishing out unnecessary shade to other celebrities, Lopez also has a reputation for being incredibly rude to service people. One United Airlines employee told the press how much of a diva she was during her flight. Apparently he asked if she wanted a drink, and she replied, quote, "I just said, what can I get you to drink?" But Jennifer refused to even acknowledge me. She turned her head away and told her personal assistant, "Please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and lime." Even though the stewardess was trying to serve her what she wanted, she refused to look. It made her assistant speak for her. It's so ridiculous and an unnecessary power play. But this interaction is nothing compared to the maid that was fired for asking J.Lo for an autograph. The maid later spoke with media and said she asked J.Lo's 2 assistants, who rejected the autograph. Then a day later, the hotel said that Lopez complained about the incident, and that maid was fired.
Well, if the foundations of your success can be attributed to the chairman of Sony Music using you to piss off his ex-wife, one could say you may not have earned your place in the industry, aka J.Lo's sabotage startup. For those out of the loop, Mariah Carey's the ex-wife of former Sony chairman Tommy Montola, and they had a contentious divorce, during which J.Lo was a rookie newly signed to the label. She was young, she was pretty, and she was absolutely desperate, so Montola used J.Lo as his pawn against Mariah. Montola tried to sabotage Carey's Glitter soundtrack, and to quote Mariah herself, "After hearing my new song using the same sample I used, Sony rushed to make a single for another female entertainer on their label, whom I don't know." A reference, of course, to the famous quote Mariah had made about J.Lo years prior. Carey knows that she got the last laugh, however. To quote all of that, "Loverboy" ended up being the best-selling single of 2001 in the United States. Montola, however, did find success in damaging Mariah's career and exasperating J.Lo's in the process. By feeding her successful samples and lyrics for her to repurpose, it worked so well that J.Lo just kept stealing from other artists. It's part of the reason she's so hated. She profited heavily off of black underground artists, either by literally using their vocals or by taking and rewriting their songs with slightly differing lyrics. Said artists were Shante Moore, Christina Milian, Usher, Mariah Carey, and of course Ashanti, the biggest victim of J.Lo's music theft. She stole from all of those artists and more, and sometimes not even just once. Her history of profiting off of black artists and music is well known and extremely problematic. In fact, it got so bad, artists would start leaking their own music so J.Lo couldn't steal it. No artist wants to work with someone who can only be titled an artist themselves because they steal from others, especially if they're massively egotistical about it. Because J.Lo in her mind is a mastercraft. She's the world's best dancer. She's the world's best actress and singer and performer. Having confidence is one thing, but being self-obsessed is another. Back in 2021, a string of articles came out about how the self-glorifying J.Lo actually burnt bridges with celebrity acquaintances with her behavior. To quote, "Everyone in J.Lo's life has to accept it's about her pretty much all of the time, or they simply won't be tolerated in the first place," spilt an insider to the Globe. But lately it's gotten boring for the likes of Lee Remini, Beyonce and Jay-Z, Demi Lovato, Gwyneth Paltrow, and others because of her non-stop me conversations. The source, an alleged fired house staffer, also added that J.Lo is standoffish and cool and never asks others what they're doing and isn't interested to know. She won't even hug them for fear it'll spoil her makeup. Yeah, there's having confidence. Then there's having arrogance, as Jennifer Lopez has walked a dangerous tightrope between the two for literal years. Traditionally, it's the people, it's Hollywood, their press, the movie-going public that determines who is an A-list star, not the star themselves. But during her literally renowned, famous 1998 Movie Line interview, J.Lo yeeted tradition and declared herself an A-lister. When Movie Line asked Lopez why she believed she was hot in Hollywood at the time, she responded candidly with, "Because I'm the best, and I feel I can do anything." Because I'm the best? Having too much belief in your own abilities inevitably gets under the skin of colleagues and viewers alike. Lopez even then went on to claim that she had something called the stardom glow, but not everyone saw it that way. Sure, 1998 was a good year for her, veteran film critic Roger Ebert even praising J.Lo for the Selena biopic, but praises like that went right to Lopez's head before she fell off in 2003. Despite that, J.Lo ultimately isn't a horrific actress, but she isn't a great one either. So, how does she still land roles evidently not made for her? Flirty fishing. "You always flirt with your co-stars. It's harmless," Lopez told Movie Line in 1998. And it's most definitely not, especially if that workplace is a movie set and millions of dollars are at stake. Directors are gonna get nervous about their actors flirting. So how does J.Lo then deal with that? She flirts with them too. To quote her, "That's the best way to deal with these big wigs," she said to Movie Line when they asked about her relationship with the U-Turn director Oliver Stone. "I just went in there and we hit it off and I flirted with him, got tough with him, and he just loved it. Now can you imagine if the roles was reversed and a man who had just said that quote was saying it about female co-stars and directors? Let's hold women accountable for using their sexuality to also pressure and discomfort others into giving them what they want, shall we? That's not cool, J.Lo. And speaking of not cool, if she ain't flirting with the male co-stars, she's victimizing the starlets. J.Lo has a mean streak and competitive side. Pair that with ego and self-pedestalization, it makes sense she'd say such things as, "Tell me what she's been in," about Gwyneth Paltrow in 1998, months before Paltrow would literally win the Best Actress award. And she also tacked on, "Some people get hot by association. I heard more about Gwen and Brad than I ever heard about her work." These quotes were pulled from the famous 1998 Movie Line interview after she was asked what she thought of actresses she was competing with for roles. She then went on to say Romeo and Juliet star Claire Danes does the same thing with every character, and that she was never a big fan of two-time Oscar nominee Winona Ryder. What did she think of Cameron Diaz? A lucky model who's been given a lot of opportunities. I just wish he would have done more with them. And when talking about Madonna and the insane success of 1996's Evita, she scoffs and shares her opinion of the literal queen of pop. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting's what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, "Oh, I can do that, I can act." I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. Your craft, J.Lo? Bit of a stretch for someone who bit the hand that fed her. And I'm talking about Rosie Perez, because J.Lo wouldn't have a career without her. Perez was the choreographer at an open casting call for In Living Color in 1991. While the show's creator called J.Lo a chubby and corny looking girl, Rosie saw potential in her dancing and was adamant they give her a chance. But then writes in her autobiography that soon all of the girls are coming into my office complaining about how J.Lo was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me all to her advantage. Perez then added when she confronted Lopez, she reacted like, quote, some ghetto biatch, screaming and pounding her chest and yelling at Perez, "I know I'm good, I'm better than any of these girls and you know it." Lopez leaves In Living Color just after 2 seasons, but once she makes it big in Hollywood, she went on a smear campaign and making disparaging comments about Perez, who she owes her career to. Stories like this make it obvious that J.Lo treats people pretty poorly, which means that her staff has it tough. Be prepared to be on call 24/7 to carry her to her every women need. And unless you are one or two of the staff who are very senior, don't even expect her to acknowledge you. One staff member said it was like working for a ghost. In 2022, amid a TikTok storm of fans sharing negative encounters with Lopez, TikTok user Kyla shares how her father worked for a driving company and he refused to drive for J.Lo after learning what the rules are for it. She doesn't allow the drivers to look at her or talk to her. They're not allowed to let her luggage touch the ground, and even if the driver looks in the rearview window, they could be subjected to a scolding. That's believable since a woman on Quora, Emily Watford, shared her experience working in a concert arena and literally watching a doorman get fired for making eye contact with J.Lo. According to Today Mag, J.Lo requires her nannies to work grueling hours every day of the week. Quote, normally people who have huge sums of money and have loads of professional and social obligations hire a nanny for each child, especially newborns. But it's as if Jennifer expects one nanny to not only take care of both twins, but to work 16-hour days, 7 days a week, as told to the National Enquirer. Really, just pity anyone like a maid or an airline attendant that comes within her orbit. I mean, she's going to ignore you as rudely as possible. Take the United Airlines first class attendant who merely asked J.Lo what she would like to drink. To quote him, "Jennifer refused to even acknowledge me. She turned her head away and told her personal assistant, please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and lime." It gets a lot worse when you talk about the German hotel maid who dared to knock on her door and politely ask for an autograph. Named Pré Dodage, she said, "It took all of my courage and I rang the bell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me called and said Miss Lopez has complained, and I was fired right there on the phone." Lopez then turned around and called the story hurtful and refuted she got anyone fired, but she didn't deny making the call. Anyways, I'd be mortified by something like that myself, but that's honestly J.Lo for you. That's how she treats people. She's completely shameless. This is a woman who will fire you for looking at her and has no concept of why that's not okay. A woman on TikTok, Julia Wang, shared her story of meeting one of J.Lo's backup dancers in Vegas concert where J.Lo was performing and shared how cruelly they were treated, saying if you were pretty or if you were Latina, it was like a game over. She hated you. Oh, J.Lo not being a girl's girl. Please, we've had that established since the Bash of 1998. Wang further went and claimed that J.Lo refused to talk or even look at the backups during their many hours of rehearsal time, except for the occasional eye roll or scoff, and that the only time her demeanor does a 180 is when that men walk into the room. She only treats women poorly because she views them as competition, which as a woman is the deadliest 7 sins of girl code.
Number 3. Ryan Seacrest. This incident gives Ryan every reason to hate J.Lo because it's pretty bad. Ryan Seacrest worked alongside the singer on American Idol and the two quickly became friends. But all that seemingly changed when the talk show host revealed that he flew down to Miami to celebrate her milestone 50th birthday, only to be denied entry at the door. Ouch. He recalled the whole story on Live with Kelly and Ryan and explained that he flew down from New York for only a few hours because he had to make it back in time for the next morning's show. But when he finally arrived, the doorman told him, "You're not on the list," to which he responded, "Clearly, there's a mistake. She invited me personally." But upon being denied, he checked the list and couldn't find his name. The doorman just asked him to wait, made a quick call, and was able to confirm that Seacrest was indeed on the guest list. But the host went on to say that he was the first person there and no one really got turned up until after he left. It would have certainly been a little embarrassing to say in the least. Number 2. Cameron Diaz. Throughout the years, Jennifer Lopez has been known to speak negatively about her fellow actors, and it looks like it may have come back to bite her. During an interview in the late 90s, J.Lo explained that Cameron Diaz was just a lucky model who was given opportunities. She did mention that Diaz can be good when directed, but Lopez's past comments about Cameron's career allegedly made things super awkward between them when they both had to buckle down and work together in the 2012 comedy What to Expect When You're Expecting. Several anonymous sources on the set of the film claimed that the two stars did not get along at all during the shoot. In fact, it was reported that Cameron said the singer was a nightmare to work with. Quote, "She even said that Jen should stick to her day job, meaning American Idol and singing." According to The Insider, J.Lo demanded to eat at specific times, no matter what, and stops working when it suits her, and she had her assistant run over to her with food. This is what allegedly drove Cameron crazy. Another source claimed that the co-stars actively avoided one another while filming, and tensions were thick.
Jennifer Lopez has been in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons recently, and it's all because of Ben Affleck. Now, Ben Affleck has had a complicated relationship with J.Lo as they were once engaged, but they called the wedding off. They then got back together, and it was recently the couple's 2-year wedding anniversary, but it's said that they are heading for divorce. It appears that Ben has woken up to how crazy Jen is and wants to end the relationship once again. An inside source close to In Touch Weekly said the reason for Ben taking such measures like moving out is because at the end of the day, Ben has to protect himself, and that's why he initiated the separation. He's scared if they stay together, he could seriously self-destruct. They said while he has been spotted spending quality time alone with J.Lo in recent days, he now feels his head is clear and he can move on. If there was a way to divorce on the grounds of temporary insanity, he would. He feels like the last 2 years was just a fever dream, and he's come to his senses and now understands there's just no way this is going to work. Now, Jennifer Garner hasn't said too much when it comes to Ben and Jennifer's divorce rumors, as she has been pretty supportive of the pair. Well, that's until now. Sources are now saying that she's drawing a line when it comes to their relationship drama affecting their kids. A close source recently revealed to Fox News Digital that Garner wasn't expecting Ben to rekindle his relationship with Lopez or all the media attention that comes with it. Now, Garner and Affleck share 3 children, and Garner has always been super protective of their privacy. But ever since Ben and Lopez's high-profile marriage, it's been paparazzi galore, and apparently Garner's not having it. It's not just the flashing cameras in the headlines though, there's also been a lot of speculation about the state of Ben and J.Lo's marriage, and it's weighing on Garner too. Now, based on numerous conversations on his show, Howard Stern has flat out claimed that he doesn't like J.Lo, her music, or how she's acted in her career. When Howard first got the job as a judge on America's Got Talent, there were a lot of concerned viewers. However, one of his first interviews as a judge, he tried to make his case by slamming other celebrity judges who, in his opinion, are more focused on advancing their own careers than doing the job they've been hired to do. I was critical of American Idol J.Lo because I felt that she never said anything negative, let's say, and I felt like, well, it helped her career. She got very far. She suddenly got back on the charts and the show was good for her, and it became more about J.Lo. Now, on top of this, Howard has repeatedly bashed all of J.Lo's music. In 2011, Howard and his co-host Robin Quivers dissected her hit single On the Floor and repeatedly played the sound of Howard banging his head against the wall in time with the music. Then in 2019, Howard called out Jimmy Fallon Allen for praising J.Lo's Super Bowl halftime show performance. Now, this doesn't even scratch the surface of how many times he's bashed her. J.Lo and Shakira came together to perform on the football field at the Super Bowl in 2020. Now, as two Latina women, their performance was for the history books, as it was the first time that two Latinx artists have teamed up to headline the coveted halftime slot. Now, in the halftime documentary though, it showed J.Lo being frustrated with the NFL for booking two headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine, later branding the whole thing the worst idea in the world. It's such a big stage and it's such an important show, and it's been a nightmare since we started, she adds. I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing butts and effing belly dancing. Now, not long after the doc was released, this particular line of dialogue was shared across Twitter, with a number of fans raising concerns about what J.Lo might have been insinuating about the art of belly dancing. Now, for some context, belly dancing has been long associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and from the earliest days of her career, Shakira has been known for this style of dance. So, it was pretty rude and insensitive of J.Lo to say that, and I'm sure Shakira didn't appreciate it. In early July 2003, Jennifer fired her manager Benny Medina. She accused him of violating California's Talent Agency Act, filed a petition accusing him of misappropriating her money, and sought millions back in commissions plus 10% interest. Now, the assertion was that Benny was not a licensed talent agent under the Labor Commissioner, a violation that entitles a performer to seek a refund for any payments to the acting talent agent. Now, in J.Lo's case, this amounted to 10% of earnings from movies and television, 15% of her music, recording and publishing earnings, and 10% of her earnings from other activities. Now, Benny denied the allegations, saying, "Jennifer Lopez, by making false allegations against me, is now adding me to the long list of people whom she has used and discarded after she took from them all she could get." Now, in the end, that December, Fox News reported the dispute was settled quietly some time ago. J.Lo then later rehired Benny to revive her music career in 2005, and the two have remained friends and business partners ever since, but it seems like he should keep his guard up if she really did lie about all of that. Now, Scott Barnes has worked for J.Lo since the year 2000, but that doesn't mean there hasn't been ups and downs. During an interview on the Jeff Probst show, Scott set the record straight after rumors circulated that he and two others leaked plans of J.Lo and Mark Anthony's secret marriage, and as a result, J.Lo's team shunned Scott, and they did shun Scott indeed. He said, "Nobody would talk to me, it was like I had the plague." Then when the truth came out that Scott did not leak the news or even know about the wedding ahead of time, he received a phone call, presumably from Jen, who Scott claimed said the following: "It was like, hey, it was a big misunderstanding, you know we have a lot of stuff coming up and I really miss you, so let's just get back to work." Although Scott was very gracious about the whole thing, it appears that J.Lo did not apologize to him. Now, almost as soon as Jennifer shared a photo of her and Drake backstage at her Las Vegas show in December 2016, the rumor mill began turning, reporting that the pair were dating. The caption she used for the pic said, "Look who rolled up to my show tonight to say hi, #love him." Now, the singer sure didn't help matters when she uploaded an image of the Canadian rapper, giving her a bear hug and looking rather cozy snuggling up to her. Now, while some people didn't believe the headlines, Drake's on-again, off-again love interest, Rihanna, sure seemed to have taken the post to heart and was not happy. According to an unnamed insider who spoke with In Touch, she felt like she had suffered the ultimate betrayal and dubbed J.Lo as desperate and a traitor. Although Rihanna never publicly addressed the issue, she did appear to throw some major shade in the most subtle of ways when in December of 2016, she suddenly unfollowed Jen on Instagram. Jennifer Lopez and Jenna Dewan seemed to get along just fine when they both appeared on NBC's World of Dance, the reality dance competition which premiered in 2017, saw Jen taking on the role of executive producer and judge, while Jenna acted as a host and mentor. Now, the pair, who are both dancers, never showed any signs of animosity on the small screen, but according to OK Magazine, the vibe was very different behind the scenes. Jenna can't stand Jen's over-the-top theatrical fakery, the outlet quotes an unnamed source saying. Jen never fails to ham it up when the cameras are rolling, and she hijacks the show. Every situation, even off-camera, is micromanaged by J.Lo, and Jenna feels excluded, the insider concluded. J.Lo and Madonna's feud all began when Madonna was asked who she thinks is the best female singer in the world, and she said Jennifer Lopez was a good actress, but she couldn't sing. Then in a 1998 interview, Jennifer fired back at Madonna saying she wasn't a good actor while promoting her film Out of Sight. When asked about Madonna's acting skills, J.Lo didn't hold back. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. After the interview was published, J.Lo regretted everything she said about her colleagues and said it was all a joke. However, it was already too late as Madonna had already read the interview and reportedly felt disrespected. TikTok videos have unveiled the stories over the past years, and one of the topics was about J.Lo's backup singer, Julia Wang, who saw firsthand her mean girl side. If you were pretty or if you were a Latina, like game over, she hated you, Julia said to the singer. She just acted like a bully. Can you imagine spending time with someone working in a closed setting every single day for months, and this person not even acknowledging you or acting like you exist? Now, although we don't have proof of this, it definitely feels like something J.Lo would do, as she has a reputation for being a diva. Not even a month after their 10-year wedding anniversary, Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck announced that they were getting a divorce. This came as a surprise to a lot of people, as throughout their marriage, they seemingly had a very healthy relationship. Now, it turns out that was not the case for as long as we thought. When the pair did divorce, there were rumors going around that Ben had formed a relationship with their children's nanny. Now, of course, he denied these rumors, with the rep for Ben saying that the story was complete garbage and full of lies. However, later in a conversation with Vanity Fair, Jennifer Garner confirmed that yes, Ben had an affair with their nanny. She said that there were lots of reasons for their split, but this was definitely not something you can ignore. She then went on to say, it's not great for your kids for a nanny to disappear from their lives. I've had to have conversations with my children about the meaning of a scandal, she said. Now, in that same interview, the actress said, no one needs to hate him for me, I don't hate him, certainly we don't have to beat the guy up, don't worry, my eyes were wide open during the marriage. Next is Jen wanting a baby. Now, a source exclusively told Life in Style that J.Lo has been trying to persuade Ben to have a baby via surrogate and claims that she finally got him to cave in. The source says Jennifer has become passionate about getting yet another second chance, having a baby with Ben. She nagged him until he went along with it, added the source. Ben was completely happy with the blended family they already have, but he loves kids, that's why he agreed to having another. At the end of the day, he wants Jennifer to be happy. But I mean, it doesn't really feel like he wants another kid. Now, Ben has 3 children from his previous marriage, while Jen has 2. Now, they're allegedly in the planning stage, with Jen looking at surrogates, but with the rumors of a divorce and the pair currently living apart for the time being, adding another kid into the equation doesn't sound like a good idea at all. Then there's Ben's addiction. Ben has been open about his addiction to alcohol. He first checked into a rehab facility in 2001, completing a 30-day residential rehabilitation program for alcohol abuse. He then sought treatment for alcoholism on several occasions in the years since, getting professional help in 2008, 2017, and again in 2018 after his divorce from Jennifer Garner was finalized. Now, he briefly relapsed in 2019, but said he wouldn't let it derail him, admitting it happens, it's a slip. Now, that same year, the actor acknowledged that being an alcoholic is something that he deals with on a daily basis, saying on the Today Show, it doesn't have to subsume my whole identity and be everything, but it's something that you have to work at. Now, since Ben's addiction has played out so publicly, it's become unfortunately common for fans to speculate about his health, particularly after he married Jennifer Lopez. For example, a video clip of Jennifer and Ben having a seemingly tense conversation at the premiere for her movie Shotgun Wedding went viral in January after fans suspected the pair were arguing over Ben's drinking. Now that things appear to be rocky between the two, maybe Ben has relapsed again. Now let's talk about Jen exposing their relationship. Ben was taken aback when Jen shared with songwriters the private letters that he wrote to her to serve as an inspiration for her upcoming album, This Is Me Now. Per Variety, in a preview for her forthcoming Amazon Prime documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told, Jen had invited musicians to their home and gave them access to Ben's love letters. Now, ironically, Ben walked in at that very moment and was surprised to see the letters being passed around. I did really find the beauty and the poetry and the irony in the fact that it's the greatest love story never told, he said to the camera. If you're making a record about it, that seems kinda like telling it. Now, reacting to the way J.Lo shared Ben's private letters, several Twitter users admitted that they found it invasive. Sharing personal love letters with a bunch of people without the writer's permission seems like a very weird thing to do, one person wrote. Literally cannot imagine sharing love letters with strangers, this is so invasive, another user said. When you write something deeply intimate to your partner that comes from a very vulnerable place, one of the worst things a partner can do is show these to others, someone tweeted. Another one said, it's truly inconsiderate to release it without telling him, especially considering he was probably being vulnerable vulnerable, another user agreed. And I gotta say, I think it was a bad move on Jen's part. On to relationship rules. Jennifer's relationships are often in the spotlight, as she's been in several high-profile relationships that made headlines all over the world. From 2004 to 2011, she was married to Mark Anthony, and they had twins together. In 2017, she made headlines again when she broke the news that she was dating former New York Yankee Alex Rodriguez. Now, rumors spread that J.Lo would only consider marrying A-Rod if he agreed to a list of demands. Reportedly, he'd not be allowed to talk to any woman under the age of 40, which is just super controlling and gross. And additionally, J.Lo loved his physique and wanted a guarantee that he wouldn't let himself go once they got married. Now, none of these rumors have actually been confirmed, but it does seem pretty realistic to me. Now, we know that Jen and A-Rod didn't work out as she's now married to Ben, but I'm sure she has rules for him too, which is just unfortunate. Then there's the fact that Jen is a diva. Now, according to several of J.Lo's former staff members, Jennifer earned herself the nickname Paylo because she paid her staff around 50% less than they could make elsewhere. Now, this rumor has been going on for years. As you see, way back in 2003, Jennifer was spotted in Vegas with her then boyfriend, Ben Affleck. Now, the pair had a big win, and Ben decided to drop a $2,000 tip to the dealer, but before he could scoop up the generous award, J.Lo snatched up the cash and swiped it for $200 instead. Now, Jennifer's reason for paying her staff so little: she had to work hard to earn her money, so should everyone else. Now, this is just so embarrassing for her. If she had to work hard to earn her money, shouldn't she try to help make it easier for others because she knows how hard it is? She just seems so entitled, and it's just gross. Moving on to Ben not liking the spotlight. Now, at a separate point in Jennifer's documentary about her album, Ben discusses the subject of privacy more broadly when talking about his and Jen's relationship, which was rekindled in 2021, almost 2 decades after they called off their 2002 engagement. He said, "Things that are private, I always felt are sacred and special because in part they're private." He added, "When Jen and I broke up before," he said, while looking back at the end of their engagement in 2003, "the catalyst for that was this massive amount of scrutiny around our private life." However, he did suggest that the couple didn't necessarily share the same viewpoints when it came to having a romance in the public eye. "I had a very firm sense of boundaries initially around the press, while Jen, I don't think, objected to it the way I did," the star continued, "and I very much did object to it." Now we have J.Lo's failing tour. So we all know that J.Lo released an album called This Is Me Now, and she made a movie for it, and then a documentary for it. Now, it debuted at a disappointing number 38 on the Billboard 200, but despite this, J.Lo decided that she would go on tour with this album. Now, J.Lo first announced this tour in the middle of February, initially as This Is the Me Now tour. A week later, another 3 shows were added, but however, in mid-March, several tour dates were quietly removed without explanation. Then, the tour's name had been changed from This Is Me Now to This Is Me Live, The Greatest Hits. So instead of it being a tour for that specific album, she's having one of her own era's tours. Now, it's been cited that low ticket sales is a possible reason for emphasizing J.Lo's back catalog. Us Weekly reported that Jen was disappointed in the tour's lackluster ticket sales, but remained proud of the new projects. Jennifer is very focused on her latest project and doesn't want bad press to get in her head, they said. Now, if you go to Ticketmaster, there are a lot of tickets left, which is honestly just embarrassing. She should just play smaller venues or lower her ticket prices. Next up is not spending time together. Now, Ben and J.Lo have not been spotted together recently. For example, at the beginning of May, Jen attended the Met Gala all by herself. Now, this was shocking because Jen was a co-chair for the gala, but Ben was missing from the event. Now, Ben has been filming The Accountant too, and it's said that he skipped the event because of his schedule, but the night before, he was spotted at Tom Brady's roast in LA. Not to mention that J.Lo is gearing up for her tour, This Is Me Live, The Greatest Hits. Now, she'll be on the road from June 28th to August 17th, and with her being so busy with this, she won't really have that much time to spend with Ben, and it will just put more space in between the two. Not to mention, even now, she has so many rehearsals for the tour, maybe all the time apart will be negative and will really result in them getting a divorce. And finally, we have their fights. Now, a lot of the pair's fights have been caught on camera, and it's been awkward. Ben found himself at the center of attention after he was shown looking bored and miserable while he and Jen attended the Grammys. The pair went viral once again after the cameras caught them having yet another tense-looking exchange. In the clip, Ben could be seen leaning in to whisper in Jen's ear, only for her to turn her head suddenly and sternly say something to him. She then puts her hand to her chest and looks to tell Ben to sit up as he immediately adjusts his posture. Fans on Twitter had a field day guessing about what the husband and the wife duo could have possibly been fighting about, with people speculating that Ben's unusual behavior on the night may have been because he was drinking.
According to Dannii Minogue, for her it was J.Lo's insane ultimatums, and she's not alone in that. Some of the reports about Lopez's most egregious sounding on-set demands and ultimatums aren't just from projects she stars in, but also even when she's appearing on a show just for a single day. According to a report for her BBC interview, Lopez required enough dressing rooms for a 90-person entourage if she was going to show up on the day of. In 2022, Dannii Minogue shared what J.Lo was like on their shared episode of Top of the Pops. Minogue and Lopez were set to feature during the same filming, but Lopez, at the last second, threatened not to show. And according to Minogue, it was unless her backstage room was redecorated. I was told everything had to be white, including the sofa. All I could think is girlfriend is covered head to toe in body makeup. How do you sit on an all-white couch? Meanwhile, when she's the star of the show is quite literally revolving around her power-tripping schedule. According to an insider who spoke to Now magazine in 2011, Lopez demanded to eat at exact times every day, no matter what was happening. If the natural lighting was just right, if everything was set up perfectly, Lopez would still walk off set at 10:15 on the dot to eat food specially made for her. This source was from the set of What to Expect When You're Expecting, a movie that J.Lo filmed with Cameron Diaz, and the two famously didn't get along following her next worst J.Lo moment, the movie line interview, which went down in history, man. In an era of interviews PR managed within an inch of their lives, it's rare for a major star to shred into another, let alone half a dozen. But times were different in 1998, and while speaking the movie line, Jennifer Lopez appeared on a mission to burn bridges with every female actor of her generation. When asking Lopez why she believed she was even popular in Hollywood at the time, her answer was simply, because I'm the best. During that interview, described as an orchestrated and deliberate scene, J.Lo's lounging by her swimming pool mid-massage as she proceeds to say that Cameron Diaz was a lucky model who had given a lot of opportunities I just wish she would have done more with. That she didn't know any work Gwen Paltrow did, and that she was famous by association to Brad Pitt. Oh, she also said she wasn't a fan of Winona Ryder, and even S-shamed Salma Hayek and bravely slated another multi-talent Madonna by saying, do I think she's a great actress? No, acting is what I do. So I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. Your craft, J.Lo? Bit of a stretch for someone who bit the hand who fed her. And I'm of course talking about her relationship with Rosie Perez, because J.Lo wouldn't have a career without her, yet bashes her. Perez was the choreographer at an open casting call for In Living Color in 1991. While the show's creator called J.Lo a chubby and corny looking girl during audition, Rosie saw potential in dancing, was adamant they gave J.Lo a chance. But in her autobiography, Perez recalled that soon, quote, all of the girls are coming into my office, complaining how J.Lo is manipulating wardrobe, manipulating makeup, and me, all to her advantage, Perez wrote. Adding in that when she confronts Lopez about this, she reacted like, quote, some ghetto biatch, screaming and pounding her chest. Though Lopez left In Living Color after just 2 seasons, once she made it big in Hollywood, she went right on a smear campaign on Perez, making disparaging comments about the woman. I was blindsided, Perez said. I thought we were cool. I called her up and she wouldn't pick up. And then the next time the pair run into each other, J.Lo pretends nothing ever happened. Nothing new. J.Lo likes to pretend a lot of things, like that her career wasn't built off of theft. It starts, of course, with Sony chairman Tommy Mottola and his contentious divorce from Mariah Carey. The newly Sony-side J.Lo was young and pretty and very desperate, so Tommy chose to use her as his pawn to try and sabotage Mariah's Glitter soundtrack, and he did so by giving J.Lo the same samples and beats he saw Mariah using. Mariah's single still comes out on top, but Mottola did, however, find success in damaging Mariah's career, and J.Lo and her team learned that her success laid in using the work of other artists. She especially profited off of Black underground artists, either by literally using their vocals or by taking and rewriting their songs with differing lyrics. Said artists were those like Shantae Moore, Christina Milian, Usher, Mariah Carey, and of course Ashanti, who wrote Ain't It Funny, and Natasha Ramos, who wrote Jenny from the Block. Both artists' backgrounds, ad-libs, laughs, and main vocals were used in the songs but uncredited. J.Lo's theft of music became so persistent and even repetitive for some artists that many began leaking their own music so J.Lo wouldn't steal it. And Usher was the first, but definitely not the last, to loudly sue the singer and win for it. But just just like J.Lo, since the block was mentioned, I'm now going to bring it up and tell numerous stories about it. This first one, how Jenny caused a fiasco. So Lopez once starred in a Fiat commercial in which she drove around the Bronx and explained why her old neighborhood continues to inspire her. Her deal with the Italian manufacturer was reportedly worth millions, yet she refused to actually return to the block that she sang about and forced Fiat to find a body double to do so. The owner of Mott Haven Barbershop, seen in the ad, said the commercial featuring the Fiat 500 car drove up and down the street of East 136, but Lopez was not at the wheel. Instead, it was a double that looked like her. J.Lo's people refused to comment on it, but Fiat was forced to, and they make a public statement explaining that the body double was because of scheduling decisions. I guess I can't be too surprised given that J.Lo even went so as far to refuse financial aid to her own old high school and community. Jenny from the block has donated, rather stingily and minimally over the years, to charity, but never to her own suffering neighborhood, which has now been criticized by her former principal, Claire Latempa from the Holy Family School, for allegedly turning her back on the community. Latempa, who worked alongside the star's own mother, Lupe, at the school, tells the New York Daily News, "Jennifer hasn't even sent us a CD. Her mother, Lupe, was wonderful. A sweetie. Wonderful with the kids. When Jennifer became famous, I asked Lupe if Jennifer could donate a scholarship in her name, and Lupe said, that's her money and that's it." The school board has since sent inquiries to the singer in the past, asking for potential scholarships be set up in her name for prominent music or dance students, but they've received no response. And Latempa adds that the recession hit parents hard. Many of them are single mothers. A lot have lost their job. And she said, "I have one mother who worked at St. Vincent's Hospital for 25 years who's out of work. It's a hard time for families to make tuition. I keep praying she'll donate." It's hard to imagine J.Lo will donate anything though when she did something like the casino reclaim. Several TikTok users have accused Lopez of not tipping her waitstaff, but two stories in particular take the cake, or in this case, the tip. So TikTok user Penny claims that her friend, once employed at the Las Vegas Tavern, told her about serving Ben Affleck one night, and he gave said friend a $10K tip for the service. But once J.Lo caught wind of the tip money, she allegedly took it back. Apparently, Affleck was so mortified that the next day he sent a bouquet and $25,000 tip to the server. In a second TikTok now deleted, a woman corroborates this story, claiming the couple's notoriously anti-tipping. Lopez tells Affleck not to tip. He doesn't tip anymore though, baby. You don't need to tell him nothing. He ain't doing it. Taking back tips is some next level behavior from a millionaire like J.Lo, but the woman also cares so little about livelihood of others, she makes her staff jump through hoops. So, a flight attendant told Star Magazine how J.Lo refused to even acknowledge him after he asked to take her drink order. Instead, she turned her head away and told her personal assistant, "Please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and a lime." And in 2022, amid TikTok's storm of fans sharing negative encounters with Lopez, one user, Kayla, shared how her father worked for a driving company, but he refused to drive for J.Lo after learning her rules. Drivers can't look at her or talk to her, they can't let her luggage touch the ground, and if they even glance through the rearview mirror at her, they could be subjected to a scolding. This is believable since a woman on Quora, Emily Watford, shared her experience working in a concert arena and watching a doorman get fired for making eye contact with J.Lo. And there is rumors of a construction crew from her house who were all banned from eye contact as well. It's absolutely insane to me though how stingy J.Lo is given how much money she makes, but even worse is she has incredibly low standards for earning it as well, like performing for dictators. According to the Human Rights Watch, Turkmenistan is one of the world's most repressive countries. So it was little surprise that J.Lo is heavily criticized when she agreed to perform for its president's 56th birthday celebrations in 2013. This man's a tyrant responsible for breaching countless human rights laws, and she declared, "It was our pleasure" towards the end of her set, and "we wish you the very happiest of birthdays." Lopez representatives pleaded ignorance following the public backlash, one claiming in a statement that the A-lister would have turned down the invitation if she'd been aware of the president's past, as if she doesn't have access to Google. It would have been a viable excuse also if J.Lo hadn't already done similarly before. She took to the stage for an Aussie oligarch and then a Uzbek businessman's wedding for $1 million sums. And ahead of two controversial gigs in Russia, she reportedly told fans, "I don't like to talk politics, to be quite honest." But she seems really okay dropping political words. You know, like when J.Lo thought everyone would let her get away with dropping a slur in her 2001 remix of I'm Real. Not only did the song have zero similarity to the original whatsoever, but the Latina singer bravely drops the N-word in the opening verse. Penned by Ja Rule, who also rapped on the record, and its producer Irv Gotti, the track quickly came under fire from Hot 97, Star, and Buckwild. The morning radio DJs implored listeners to voice their disapproval of the song, and even planned to throw rice and beans at Lopez when she took to the Rockefeller Center's outdoor plaza stage for the Today Show. Edward Hawkins told the Washington Post at the event, "The singer still needs to make amends," stating, "When your music is geared towards suburbanites, there's a certain way you should carry yourself. Using a word like that when less that a third of her audience is African American or Latino is inappropriate. Lopez, however, never apologized for the stunt, instead insisting in a quote, "For anyone to think or suggest or say that I'm racist is really absurd and hurtful to me." A statement which very obviously doesn't actually even address her usage of the word at all, let alone the true reason that people were criticizing her. So